Hey guys, Eric Bischoff here to talk to you about my friends over at SaveWithConrad.com. Are you looking to get out of debt? Conrad and his team can make that happen faster than me firing the honky tonk man. Wow. And you know that controversy creates cash, right? But you know what doesn't create cash? Credit card debt. Save with Conrad can help you consolidate high-interest credit cards and all of your other debt into one low monthly payment. They can even help you get the cash you need for home improvements or anything else. They've helped 83 Weeks listeners save $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. Seriously, your papers are going to go down faster than Nitro ratings in 2000. Ouch! And how about this? No house payments for 2 months. That's right, no house payments for 2 months. And unlike the dirt sheets, man, the reviews do not lie. With over 1,000 5-star reviews, find out for yourself how much Conrad and his team can save you by checking out SaveWithConrad.com today. You'll be grateful you did.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
Welcome to Something To Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Well, you know,
That's not a rib.
she pooted.
Is that a rib? No, yeah,
There's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. And was he there? I was there. I don't give a shit. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared of shit.
Fuck him.
You, Bruce.
I love you.
Double cheeseburger, double cheese, double mayo, double onion, motherfucker.
Bruce Prichard.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
Word to your mama.
Bruce is sleepy and tired and stressed. That must mean it is time for Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. And today we're picking up where we left off on the one and only Mr. John Cena. Of course, we have done a John Cena episode back in the archives. I highly recommend that you check it out if you haven't already.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You're a watch guy.
Yeah.
Okay. You ever notice sometimes, man, people will be wearing watches and the time on their watch is not even remotely close to being the time of day in which you're existing.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the watch is dead and they're just wearing it as a fashion piece. It's like a fancy bracelet.
Yeah, or it's I don't know. Not even dead. But yeah, it's just not. It's like, wait a minute, how come this watch isn't? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I just noticed that the other day. I was like,
What you saw, you noticed a lot of people were wearing watches that didn't have.
yeah, they were completely incorrect.
Yeah, those people are not really watch people. They're just trying to coordinate. And here's the deal: like, I got a watch just laying over here. They got a 40-hour power reserve, right? Most of them.
Dude, you got watches laying everywhere though.
Well, sometimes when I record, I'll take that or whatever I'm wearing off, so I don't bang it on the desk. That's what I'm. That's what I do.
I bang. Yeah,
You banged a lot of things in that watch.
Yeah, I've been banged.
Yeah, it has. So listen, the John Cena episode that got us kicked off, we aired back in 2017. So we're continuing from there. This is the era that we're going to pick up in is 2004, right after
5
WrestleMania.
years later, really? No, 6 years later? What the fuck? How long is that? That's a long time.
Well, I mean, you were just talking about people whose watches are dead. Maybe your brain is a little dead.
It's just sleepy. It'll be awake later, though. Trust me. You are not prepared for what's coming at you.
Do you want to tell everybody what you're consuming today to make sure that you can get game ready for us?
So Logan Paul is a friend of mine, wonderful guy.
Your great close personal friend.
Actually, he is a great close personal friend. He's a wonderful guy. He really and truly is. And
congratulations to him. Just got engaged.
Yeah, congratulations to him. More importantly, So my son, Kane, is 20. I don't know how old they are. But he drinks a lot of this, this Prime stuff. And so I mentioned to Logan, I said, hey, Kane really likes Prime. So he sends a bunch of Prime to my house. And I love, remember the blood orange mango?
Oh, your
water?
favorite. Your favorite.
Well, he had a drink in there called orange mango. And man, it's good. This is not a paid advertisement by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know why the last two shows this week were just talking about shit we really like, and they're not paid advertisements. But it's got a lot of caffeine in it. I will pre-warn you, but it's really good, and I enjoy it quite a bit. So I had all this stuff, put it in the fridge. My wife has drank half of the hydration supply that he sent me.
That's pretty good stuff. Megan drinks that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is good. But I set in my ways. I drink my Gatorade with that Pepsi. But man, if you need to get going in the morning, good shit.
So there you go. We're hoping that the Prime kicks in for Bruce, and we're going to pick it up where we left off, which is WrestleMania 20. The Rise of John Cena was the episode available in the archives over at somethingtowrestle.com. This is the era where John is using the whole Doctor of Thugonomics persona. Of course, we all recall he beat Big Show at WrestleMania in 2004 to become the U.S. champion. That's going to become his first singles championship in the WWE. And we pointed out in that episode that he really went out of his way to make the title feel special. And I think a lot of people forget about this title. If you're watching over on YouTube, the first spinner belt was not the world title or the WWE championship. It was the U.S. title. And this is maybe inspired by Latrell Sprewell's old spinning rims, or as you call them, spinning hubcaps.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're saying right now.
The belt span.
I know that. I don't know what spinnerells.
Rims that spin, like on your car.
Mine don't spin. Well, they go round and round like the wheels on the bus.
20-something years ago, people were really into rims that would spin.
Like wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheels on the bus go round and round all day long. That's all I know. I'm reminiscing today. Kane really liked bus. Every time a bus would come by, he'd walk out, run to the window, and go, bah, bah. Yeah.
So now that Cena is the U.S. champ, he's going to successfully defend the title at house shows and on SmackDown against guys like Rhino and JBL and Rene Dupree and Johnny Stamboli and Nunzio and Danny Basham and Akio and Luther Reigns and Rob Van Dam. I mean, these are what a cast of characters here. Some of these names we haven't talked about in a long, long time. The biggest victories, I suppose, are the pay-per-view wins. He'd get a win over Dupree at Judgment Day in May. And then he would win a fatal four-way at the Great American Bash in June over Dupree, Booker T, and Rob Van Dam. Man, we don't spend a lot of time talking about some of these other names. Johnny Stamboli, Nunzio. You got any good stories about these cats?
Nunzio, I don't know who the other guy is there, but
that was Vito in that photo.
Oh, okay. Man, Nunzio is probably, if you ever get a chance and you're at a convention or you're doing something, you have an opportunity to stop by and see Nunzio, the FBI, the full-blooded Italians. Go out of your way to say hello, and this will be one of the nicest gentlemen you will ever meet in your entire life. Genuinely nice, genuinely just wants to help people and have a great attitude, but do not, under any circumstances, fuck with him, because he will kick your ass. And he won't even break a sweat doing it. And then he'll go right back to being a nice old Nunzio. Great guy, man, but tough. He was a shooter. I think he trained with Billy Robinson or Gotch, one of those guys. But an old school guy, yeah, young. I guess we're all older now, so can't say he's a kid, but he was without a doubt just a joy to be around and a really, really, really good guy. And that's one of the guys that you meet, you won't be disappointed in meeting because you'll leave there going, man, what a great guy he is. I want to hang out and have a beer with him. So I think that's one of the secrets and one of the reasons that old Nunzio was able to stay around and just people liked him. They liked being around him. They liked interacting with him. So great guy.
Good to hear. I like to hear stories like that. And when you say kid, I think he's 51 years old now.
Well, that's kid to me.
It is, yeah. We're going to see a handicap match between Stamboli and Nunzio.
Aww.
What?
Somebody's handicapped?
Well, they may have been after they wrestled John Cena here.
Why are you picking on John Cena?
Because he could hurt you.
I can hurt you, but I won't.
How could you hurt me?
Oh, I can hurt you.
Just block my phone number.
You want to be hurt? Yeah. That shirt's not flattering. Yeah. How's that?
That really stings, Bruce.
Good. It hurts. It hurts. Admit it.
Listen, let's talk about this Great American Award. In this era, Kurt Angle is the general manager of SmackDown, and he's trying to give a Great American Award, aka you're going to become the #1 contender for Eddie Guerrero's WWE title. So I always thought Kurt Angle did a great job in these sort of segments where he's just a talking head and a character. It doesn't just have to be about being a wrestling machine. And he's going to invite all the nominees into the ring. He's going to start with John Cena. Cena's going to get a big pop. And when he comes in the ring, he pulls a bag of D's nuts out of his pocket and stuffs it in Kurt's breast pocket of his jacket. And the other nominees are Charlie Haas, Booker T, Big Show, JBL. And then I guess they tallied this up over on WWE.com. Fans actually got to vote. And John, I guess, gets 280,429 votes out of a total of 420,000 and change. So the overwhelming majority of fans are behind John Cena here. So to remind you, John Cena gets 280,000. He's first place. Second place gets 65,000 votes.
Bradshaw only got 65,000?
Booker T did.
That's un-American.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a landslide. And when we're seeing this on television, they cut away to a sign in the crowd that says Cena equals franchise. And I've always thought this was, if this is real and it was really legitimate voting, I mean, this kind of gives you guys another indicator besides ticket sales, besides quarter hours, besides merch of who's really quote unquote over. And I know you guys did some stuff like back in the day, like Taboo Tuesday. Did you think that was a good way to get real feedback from the audience? Just go to the website and let fans vote?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's instantaneous. You can ask a question, get an answer almost instantly. And again, depending upon the volume, it tells you what you're looking at. And people were in love with Cena at this time.
Well, what's interesting is, of course, we're trying to tell a story, and Kurt Angle is portraying a heel character here as general manager. So rather than just award it to John Cena, who won in a landslide, as Kurt Angle's getting ready to make the announcement, and it's plain to see if you saw the results that we just showed, that they showed on camera there at somethingwrestle.com. JBL interrupts this whole process and starts arguing that he deserves this award more than anyone else because I'm the greatest American. Take a look at what I just did in the middle of the night on the border between Texas and Mexico. He's going to start doing a whisper because he doesn't want to alert anyone that he's there. And he's talking about illegal immigrants coming over the border to ruin the United States economy. And he's going to find a family.
Well, that's Rudy Gonzalez right there, if you're watching on YouTube. And he first of all, he was coming across a border in a fence in some place that he did not own. I know that for a fact.
So maybe it's not what we're portraying, but by God, it's still technically the truth. Fun little stuff here. Of course, Kurt Angle is a heel, so he's going to change his mind and he's going to award the #1 contendership to JBL. Kurt unveils the trophy, but wouldn't you know it, Eddie has managed to steal it and left a portrait of himself instead. This is pretty funny that this is how we set up JBL and Eddie Guerrero. But John Cena, man, already has the big vote of confidence from the fans in 2000.
Hang on. If I've already told the story, you can say, stop, Bruce. I already told the story. Ever tell you the story about shooting that particular vignette?
I need to hear this, yeah.
So we were in little town, Athens, Texas, where John was born and raised. His father is the minister of the church. Very well-known family. Like, might as well have been the mayor of Athens, Texas, because he was so well connected and everybody loved his dad and everybody loved John. But John had moved on, you know. John had become a star. John had moved to New York City, got married to his beautiful wife, Meredith. And we were looking for a place to shoot this vignette. Well, what better place in Texas? And John's like, I got it all under control. My dad's got this guy. He's got a ranch. It's got about 1,000 acres on it. It's got fences. It's got land. We can shoot anywhere we want, do anything we want. And no problem. Done deal. So I fly. I think I flew into Houston. I remember eating at Papacitos and spilling food all down the front of my shirt. And on the way out of town to go to Athens, I drove by Mattress Mac, Gallery Furniture, and I went in and got one of his shirts. I said, Mac, I spilled. We got hot sauce all over my shirt. Mac went back, got me a nice new Gallery Furniture shirt, and I went off to the shoot. Because you got to shoot at night. Because it's a nighttime shoot. So, meet up with John in Athens. Well, have dinner. I've got an entire crew there. We've got like a little Bobcat, truck full of equipment. So, where we going, John? I got it right down here. You're going to go down here, and we're going to take the left at the light, and then it's down there about a mile on the right. Let's go. It's getting dark, so it's probably about 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. We go on down to that light. We take that left. We go down about a mile. We take that right. We pull into this long-ass driveway. House is dark, though. Well, maybe they're not home. Maybe, they look like rich people like you. And there's all this beautiful land. You see horses, man. You see cattle. And you see all this stuff. And manicured. It's gorgeous. But nobody's home. We're knocking on the doorbell, ringing the doorbell, and knock, knock, knock. Nobody's home. So, well, I'm sure they'll be. It was Wednesday night, John says. They're probably at church.
Right.
Where the hell else are you on a Wednesday night? And I say, let's go ahead and just start setting up. Let's go take a look around, see what we got to work with here. So I've got lighting guys, and they're got the flashlights, and they're flashing lights inside the house and all around the property, looking around and walking the perimeter and what have you. And then from afar, we see headlights coming. Pickup truck. By God, you're in Athens, Texas. What else you gonna drive? And that pickup truck comes down like that long driveway, and long driveway leads to only one place. That's where we are. And it stops. And just sits there for a little while. John and I look at each other. Says, "Is this your friend?" He says, "I don't know. I ain't never met him. Friends of my dad." Okay. Well, they know we're coming, right? Oh, yeah. No, that's all taken care of. So John's like waving. "Hey, how you doing? Hey, come on. Hey, how you doing? It's John." They drive a little bit closer. That's a long driveway, man. They stop again. John's, "Hey, it's me, it's John." And the second time they stop, a little light comes on inside the cab of the pick 'em up truck.
Okay.
And on the back of a lot of pickup trucks in Texas, especially in Athens, they usually have rifles or shotguns, things like that.
As you do.
Well, yeah, because they're hunters.
Right.
And the light goes on, and we see this guy kind of take the shotgun off of the holder behind him. I said, "John, you sure these people know we're coming?" "Oh, yeah, don't worry about a thing. Hey, how you doing?" And this truck starts creeping now towards
Yeah, that
us.
ain't good.
And the whole time, my crew's like taking shit out of the truck, got flashlights and everything. And John like walks up to meet the truck halfway before it can get to him. And I'm walking behind him because start shooting. I got a shield. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm John. I'm a Vels boy down here. And what are y'all doing?" It was an old couple, man and woman. The guy's got the shotgun on his lap. So, "What are y'all doing?" I said, "Well, my dad talked to you about, we're going to do a couple of, some TV things here. And won't be long. We're not going to disturb anything." And she goes, "I know the bell, but you're his boy. Why are you here?" "Well, this is where address he gave me for the Cartwell's ranch or whatever." And he says, "We're the Joneses," whatever the hell name it is.
Oh, no.
We were at the wrong fucking ranch. Now imagine being in East Texas, in Athens, pulling up to your home that is way 1,000 acres, man, way the hell off the road. And as you pull up down your long, probably half-mile driveway, you see a truck backed up
Yeah.
to your house.
Yeah.
With people, they're taking things out of the truck, but it looks like they're loading the truck as people are walking around your house with flashlights, and there's a bunch of them. And then you see this goofy bastard in his cowboy hat and waving his thing with some fat guy behind him wearing a gallery furniture shirt. And we about got shot trying to do that. And then we realized we were at the wrong ranch. We apologized and called the other guy. So where exactly are you? I think we're supposed to take a right at that light instead of a left. But nonetheless, we got there and we had us some fun catching people that, because he had told us he'd had a problem. People coming across into his land and what have you. John was there to make sure that by God he would enforce and take care of those things. We damn near got shot. Oh my God. That's up there with one of the closest that I think I ever came to guys, we're gonna die tonight.
Oh goodness.
My lighting guys to this day still always tell the story whenever I walk by and I start to go to set up a shot. They'll go say, "Hey, you ever hear about the time that Bruce took us to a shot? We all almost got shot for real." I'm like, oh, come on, guys, that happened lots of times. That one just happened to be in Texas, but anyway, that was a little sidebar. And Rudy Gonzalez was the gentleman that he trains guys in San Antonio, and he was a gentleman that was jumping the fence. And John, you can't do that, Conrad. You just can't do that. You can't be jumping fences.
Rudy back in the day was a part of Shawn Michaels' training school that he had for a bit, right?
Yeah, sure was.
Yeah. This is a pretty controversial story that you guys are telling here. I don't think that WWE would do that sort of thing now these days, but man, that was sort of the goal, is let's make JBL as hateable as we can.
That's that's an easy thing to do,
though. Were you consciously thinking forward to, because obviously this is 2004, and we know that JBL and Eddie Guerrero are going to tear it up at Judgment Day, but a year later, man, it is going to be about John Cena and JBL. Could you already see, like, man, if we get John as hateable, Layfield, that is, as hateable as we want, I mean, he would be the perfect foil for whoever the top babyface is, right?
Yeah, you're looking at a time that there were a few guys that were coming into their own. John Cena, without a doubt, was coming into his own, but also JBL was a untested heel at this point. And we were in the building process of building JBL. You're in the building process of building John Cena. Hopefully, yes, we actually were looking at it, because we didn't have a lot of depth in the, hey, this guy's over side of the roster. We were trying to make new stars and make superstars for the future. So we were banking on, Cena hitting, and we were banking on Bradshaw hitting.
And they did. Cena is going to continue to heat up over the summer, including a July 8th episode of SmackDown. Cena is going to accidentally attack Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle is now going to strip him of the U.S. title. And in order to earn that title back, Angle is going to put Cena into what's called a best-of-5 series with Booker T. That lasts from August 15th at SummerSlam through October 3rd at No Mercy. And we've seen these best-of series before, way back when in Jim Crockett Promotions. We saw Nikita and Magnum. Over in WCW, Booker T had a fantastic best-of-7 series with Chris Benoit. Now we're going to run it back, as the kids like to say, with John Cena. Listen, sometimes we have some silly, fantastic stories like catching people at the border. And other times, man, the story is great matches. What'd you think of this best-of-5 series with Booker T and John Cena here?
I thought it was tremendous, because it gave Cena an opportunity to show the naysayers that, yeah, you know what? I can go in the ring. John was awkward. John was different. I don't think anybody would ever argue that fact. And in being awkward and being different, people would say, he's no good, or he's a shits because he didn't run like everybody else. Well, that's what made John Cena different, was because he didn't run like everybody else. So it made Cena different because he didn't cut his promos like everybody else. This was an opportunity to be in the ring and to have a series of matches that, at least in my mind, were going to be guaranteed good matches, because you had Book in there. And Book would be able to slow him down and take him through it. To me, this was, kind of the credibility phase, if you want to go there, with John Cena. What do you got, kid? All right, got a nice little gimmick there. You can rap, you can do all this. By the way, you look great. You can hang. Well, let's see how you can hang in the ring. Let's see what you can do with these matches and take that next step, because it's an important one. You have a great gimmick and never really have to work, a second in a match. and know what the hell you're doing. There are people that held the WWE championship like in the late 80s. And
Yeah. Do you think that's changed over time? That's what I wanted to ask is, once upon a time, the Intercontinental title was the guy who was expected to have good matches, but you just had to be the big star in order to have the big belt. Do you think that was changing by 04 and 05?
I think there was always variety, and in order to solidify yourself with the audience, it's like being the number one draft pick in football. Well, you're the number one draft pick. Yay, great. Everybody's excited. And then the whistle blows. Same thing here, man. That bell rings and they want to see what you can do. Now, if you can do everything you say you can do, then everything else, it makes everything else better. And John was able to do everything else and hang with the guys. They said, he can't work with him. That's not going to work. And John proved that he could.
It's just fascinating to think about, that this is the evolution of the business and that you guys did a best of 5 where not all of them were televised. That today, I don't think would ever happen, but we're announcing it as a best of 5 series and we get kicked off at SummerSlam on pay-per-view. So, hey, if you got 30 or 40 bucks or whatever it is, you can watch that one. That's on August 15th. And 9 days later, hey, we'll show you the match from Fresno on SmackDown. But then 3 days later at the Superdome in Sydney, Australia, well, that's not televised. And then, of course, we're going to come home and on September 14th, we'll be in Washington for SmackDown. You can watch that one. And then we blow it off October 3rd at No Mercy in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Cena's going to come out on top and win the title here. But I love that you guys sprinkled in a big live event down in Sydney, Australia as a part of this best of 5 series. I mean, I know we've talked about this a few times, but the idea that you can give real stakes and consequence to a live event, that has to be a boom for that business too, right?
Of course, because the audience in the live event is following what you're doing on television. Now, if you can be a part of that, that's a great thing. You feel as though everything means something, and try to do that in every live event. And this particular one had something that had a major angle on television, but continuing that, being a part of it. So it was match number 3 or 4, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
That takes place. And it also gives, recognition to, we are the WWE. The first W stands for world. And we perform all over the world. And these matches take place all over the world. It's not, folks, you're not just going to see this on TV. You may see it in your hometown. Be sure and go and see. Could be the night that Booker wins it all. It could be the night that Cena proves that, yeah, I can hang, dog.
Do you think a best of 5 series could work in 2023? Like in this instant gratification, Uber Eats, TikTok, short form, Twitter society, do you think a best of 5 could work, or are fans more conditioned now for, I need one match and then I want to move on?
I'd like to believe that our audience would be sophisticated enough to get behind a best of 5 or a best of 7 type series. Unfortunately, I'm not sure, as you said, the attention span of the audience today is one of, man, I want it all. I want it now. I don't want to wait. Best of 5. Well, you can give me 5, but I care about who wins tonight. Not thinking about strategy and not thinking about, well, if the guy's down 2, what happens? If he loses tonight, it's all over. And people, it was really interesting this year with the World Series, and the Astros and the Phillies. I think most people were already saying, Houston Astros are going to kill them. There's not going to be a game 6 and 7. Probably won't even make it to 5. There was that sentiment, and I think people were just waiting for it to get over. Okay, yeah, we know who the better team is. Great. Go raise their hands. And they still played it out, and there's still hope, which is what gives me hope. Because the audience, man, Philly didn't, sure as hell didn't say, okay, yeah, the Astros is the better team. Let's just go get it over. They believed that the team had an opportunity. So I would hope that it could. I just don't know the shorter attention span. A 2 out of 3 over a couple days, maybe. But it's just not as attractive as it once was.
Let's talk about Australia for a moment too. You know, we haven't spent much time talking about Australia and the relationship with WWE. I think the WWE first went there in 85. They went back in 86. You joined the company in 87, and I don't think that WWE went back until 2002. And Australia, for a long time, as I understand it, was like a hotbed for wrestling. Folks like Mr. Barnett, as I understand it, made quite a lot of money down there. Talk to me a little bit about Australia and why you think you guys stayed away. I mean, 87, 88, 89, 90, it feels like those could have been big years. And even perhaps when there were some down years in the new generation era or right before the Attitude Era gets kicked off, you guys were doing like tours in Kuwait and these faraway lands that you'd never really been, but we don't go back to Australia. Why do you think that was? Was it a lack of a local promoter or something else?
Business. It's business. It's money. It's cost. To try and do an event in Australia is probably, 4 times the expense of doing one in the United Kingdom. Very expensive. The flight alone, the time of the flight, you're 18 hours there, you're 18 hours back. So that's already a day and a half of your life just traveling to get there. And the expense of doing business there is tremendous. You don't have your rings, you don't have your equipment, you don't have everything contained to where if you need something, you can just pick up a phone and it can be there in a few hours. It can be there in a couple days at this price. And it was usually an astronomical price. So business-wise, it didn't make a lot of sense because there were no subsidies back in those days to come in or any local promoter to guarantee you money to come in. The business has evolved and changed, but at the time, especially early on in the 80s and things like that, did we go to Kuwait? Did we go to Saudi and all over Europe? Sure we did, but they were paying a lot of money for that. Australia didn't. And all it was a long flight for a couple of days and a long flight back, and you really didn't make any money. If you want to be in business, you need to make money.
No doubt. Well, you guys are trying to make some money right after No Mercy. So Cena's come out on top with this best of 5 series. He's the U.S. champ, besting Booker T here. But 2 days after that, he loses the U.S. title to a newcomer to SmackDown, Carlito Caribbean Cool. And we know that Carlito is going to go on to become a top guy for some time. But it seems like in this era, you're starting to build Cena. Is this how you sort of make a guy like Carlito? Let's have him make a big splash right away.
One way. Absolutely. And thought that, Carlito had the talent, brand new, young, and felt it's a damn good way to make him. And Cena was able, Cena was starting to get that Teflon coating. Didn't matter what you did to Cena. As long as John could come back and open his mouth the next week on TV, he was getting himself over one way or another. So this was an opportunity to make a new talent, Carlito, by beating arguably one of the biggest guys in the company.
Well, and we know that Cena is getting ready to go film the movie The Marine. But before we talk about that, we should explain how we get there. Cena and Carlito are going to start a feud now, of course, after Carlito has bested him for the U.S. title. And as a part of this feud and the story we're trying to tell, I can't believe this is real. I don't think it's ever happened before in WWE, before or since. we tell a story that John Cena was stabbed by Carlito's bodyguard, Jesus, in a nightclub. My goodness. Talk to us about this stabbing storyline. How in the world does this get greenlit?
Whew. Horrible. Horrible. Looking for different ways, the young man coming in, Aaron, was from California, I believe, and it worked out in UPW, and it had high hopes for him. It was Latino, had decent size, was an okay worker, but just kind of had a look. And again, it's you find it every day. You see somebody in a high school gym that can captivate those 200 or 300 people that are there to the point where you go, wow, they've got some charisma. They got something going on here. They can really go. And then you put them in an arena against an established talent, and it's like, wow, they don't have a clue what they're doing. They don't know what to do next, and the crowd does not give a shit.
Right.
Big difference. And I think that's what happened with Aaron. We had high hopes. We thought that he would be able to come in and work with Carlito and learn from Carlito. We knew what we had in Carlito. We had seen his work in Puerto Rico, obviously knew his father, but it was just a chance on a new guy and a different way to introduce them, but a horrible way. Didn't like it. I mean, it's one of those, sounds great when you're talking about it. Hey, this is different. What if we did this? And this builds out as something outside of this is a personal issue. It wasn't as much of a personal issue as it was kind of, I think that once we got into it, I kind of looked at it and go, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I know we had to get rid of John. I think that there are other ways, and that's hindsight being 2020, in that, that one didn't work. That was a stinker. Check that one off the box. Don't do that again.
There's been discussions online, and I think maybe it came from a shoot interview that New Jack, our old pal from ECW, did once, where it was suggested that perhaps he be the guy to be involved in a stabbing storyline. That doesn't seem real. Do you think his name was ever bandied about when we're trying to come up with a way to get Cena off TV? What if New Jack stabbed him?
I don't know if it was at that time, but there were definitely talks to New Jack. I don't think anybody wanted to touch him because of his reputation and unpredictability. But yes, it may have been during this time that he was actually discussed, but it never to the point of, all right, who's going to go pitch that one to Vince?
Right.
So the reputation preceded itself. Paul Heyman was there during that time and had near, so Heyman wasn't high on, okay, you'll get your controversy, but it may not be the kind of controversy that you really want to have.
That was Heyman's approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was probably being honest. Hey, let's talk about
What?
What?
What'd
you say?
Huh?
How's your mom?
Heyman honest?
Ham and cheese omelet?
Ooh, God, that sounds good right now.
Hey, so in our first Rise of Cena episode, you said that John is the only person to ever get you to start doing shots and wind up missing your doggone plane. This is during the celebration of the Marine, but let's talk about the process of making that movie. How do you guys land on John Cena as the guy to, I mean, I know that there's an initiative to grow WWE films and your new film division and all that jazz. How does John become the guy? Is he the guy who's saying, hey, oh, I want to do that? Or is somebody else saying, hey, John, I could see you, blah, blah, blah. What does that look like?
Steve Austin didn't want to do
Okay.
it. That's the simplest answer is the Marine was a vehicle for Steve. Steve didn't want to do it. So we needed someone else to step into that role because, we had the movie, we had the script, we had the director, we had everybody on board. Now it was all we needed was the star. Who is it that we are going to put in this position to hopefully take it to the next level and become that next movie star, if you will. Steve was the guy that we were looking to do something with. Steve wasn't working full time, and Steve was looking for gigs, but I just don't think Steve was interested in this and didn't want to do it. We had already committed to the movie. How about Cena? Congratulations. Now a star is born. The movie wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination, but it was not that bad.
Hey, listen, Marine is the best WWE movie I think you guys ever made.
Oh, The Condemned by far.
Yeah, I think
I like The Condemned better. That's the Austin one.
What do you think they did box office wise? Let me look that up right fast.
Not much.
You want to guess? I mean, Marine had to do more.
More than Condemned. It did do more. I'll tell you why. Because of the R rating.
The Condemned cost $20 million to make, and it made 8.6 at the box office. You want to guess on the Marine?
I don't think it made 8.6.
Made 22.2.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, the budget was 15 and it made 22.2. The Marine is probably the most successful movie in WWE history, I would guess. I mean, I know that's not saying a lot. I think you once compared being the top guy and the world champ at Ring of Honor to being the shift leader Burger King.
Actually, I said Sonic. Burger King is much more prestigious. I said Sonic. I definitely said because it's like you're telling people on roller skates going, honey, get out there and get that slushy out to stall number 3.
Do you remember the last time you saw someone at Sonic on roller skates? They don't do that still, do they?
Sure they do.
I don't know. I don't go to Sonic, but I don't. It's hard for me to imagine in 2023 we got folks scooting around on roller skates.
Why? Why is this so hard?
I know. It just is.
Yeah. The last time that I was in a Sonic, which was in Houston, Texas on Fuquay, they were on roller skates. Now, that was a couple of years ago. I stopped in and I got the only thing that I'll eat at Sonic is the jalapeno burger.
I'll tell you this, they are underrated for a cheeseburger. Like fast food burger, Sonic's pretty damn solid.
Yeah, it's fresh, it's good. I mean, their food's not bad, and they've got they have the happy hour every day from whatever. So you go in there and you get you a giant cherry limeade. Beat it with a stick, man.
This is a new. I mean, you were with the company when you guys tried No Holds Barred in 1988, and now you're making a run again here with the film division. Did you think this was worth another try, and did you have confidence that John could pull it off? I mean, or were you like, Vince wants to try this other thing? He's always trying new stuff.
I felt confident John could pull it off. I really did, because John could do anything he set his mind to do. I actually wanted to be a part of producing films. It was something I'd never done. So I wanted to get into that side of the business. I wanted to do film versus television. And never got the opportunity to do it, but this was one in which I thought, man, let me go learn. Because I always, I still do feel that I could direct a motion picture. And I never had the opportunity to work with film and take something from start to finish in that film genre. And I wanted to do that, and I wanted to learn that. I couldn't have done it then, but I wanted to learn how to do it. and that was intriguing to me. So the fact that we had a studio, the fact that we were producing movies on our own was a good thing for me. And at least I thought, never got to do it. And am I bitter that I never got to do it? But John was, again, you had Steve, you had Austin, you had these rich characters that were more than in-ring attractions. John was the guy that lent himself to more than an in-ring attraction. And Vince asked him to do it, put his head down and said, yes, sir.
Listen, I appreciate that Cena, pardon the pun, is a loyal soldier in that regard. But I am curious, like this goes against sort of a traditional quote unquote wrestler brain. Like, hey man, I just got my big win at WrestleMania. You guys have, let me win the US title back over this big feud. And now you're asking me to put over this new guy and then go make a movie. I'm sure a lot of guys would have been worried about their quote unquote spot. Cena just signs right up though. And we know he's just fine for doing that. But I would see like a lot of veterans, I can imagine they would think at the time, hey man, this is a risk, right?
Sure. But it's also up to you as to what you do with that opportunity. It is a risk, but are you willing to put yourself out there for everybody to judge you? And you're almost guaranteed rotten reviews because you're a wrestler. And John was, okay, it's good to do it, man. I'm going to do the very best I can with what I have. It's a different time in the business where we were expanding and we were getting into a lot of different things. This was an opportunity to make John a star beyond the WWE and beyond the ring. And the idea was one of, man, let's try this. And again, had Steve said yes, I don't know that we would be looking at the same thing that we are today with John Cena, and things would have gone different and gone sideways. But man, it was a good deal for John, and I thought John handled it very well.
No, he crushed it, man. And he comes back at Survivor Series. He's going to make his return here in a traditional elimination match. He's going to team up with Eddie.
We're not going to talk about San Diego and the putting me to bed.
Yeah, you want to? I mean, you told the story before. But
okay. Well, then I already told the story. But it was like, yeah, it was not first time I did shots. It was just that first time I dumped shots and got caught. Yeah. And then he sat there and we drank. And I was put to bed, tucked in very neatly, still in my suit and my shoes, tucked in like tightly into the bed. And
in a suit with shoes.
In a suit and shoes.
Yeah.
And woke up because I saw a little bit of light coming through the curtain, thinking, man, they got some bright ass lights here in San Diego that I'm seeing that at 3:30 in the morning. What the hell? And got up to go to the bathroom, and I realized I'm tucked in so tight I can't get out. And finally I kicked my way out and go to the window and look out the window, and man, it was a bright light, all right. It was called the sun. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. I should have been home in Texas at that point by at least 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
It was the first time I ever missed a flight.
And that's not just kind of missing a flight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to miss it, at least do it that way, where you
miss it all the way.
Where you really miss it. Yeah, where people are looking for you, but they can't find you. Because even though John made sure that I got my bag back, and that I had my bag in my room, he made sure he very neatly laid everything out for me. And put my phone on top of my bag. The problem wasn't my phone. So Sue Aitchison and I, we had switched. Our phones got mixed up sometime during the night. And Susie had my phone and I had hers. So people calling me were
Calling Sue.
calling Sue. Sue's phone was dead. So like I'm looking at it, I'm realizing, man, I don't even have a charger for this phone. I don't even know whose it is. Yeah, it's great.
That's good.
Hell of a night.
It's a hell of a night when John Cena comes back at Survivor Series 2. He'll team up with Eddie Guerrero, Rob Van Dam, and Big Show. Across from them will be Carlito, Kurt Angle, Luther Reigns, and Mark Jindrak. Interesting time here for the WWE. Cena, Eddie, and Show wind up being the survivors in that one. And at the following SmackDown on November 16th, Cena wins his U.S. title back from Carlito. It takes him all of 25 seconds to do this in Dayton, Ohio. And Cena becomes a fighting champion, defending the title successfully against Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki and Kurt Angle all the way up until Royal Rumble 2005. And we've covered this in the archives. What a special Royal Rumble moment this is. Is this the craziest Royal Rumble moment of all, do you think? The finish with Batista and John Cena tumbling over at the same time. And here comes Vince, who manages to somehow tear not one, but both of his quads.
It was interesting.
It's got to be the craziest Rumble moment of all time. It's got to be.
And yeah, it's up there with Steve getting eliminated in San Antonio mistakenly and just rolling back in the ring. Just kept on going. Yeah, it was not supposed to happen. Not even supposed to be close. And when that happened, it's like, oh shit. And you're thinking about, well, I can't change the finish. You know, it's done. And thank God, at least they both landed at the same time.
Right.
That was good. Not planned. But yes, that was crazy. And before we knew it, somebody said, hit my music, and they were gone. And the rest, as they say, is history. But no, that was a little scary. That was a little scary. I mean, we definitely could have gotten out of it. We could have figured out a way to get out of it, all that good stuff. But that's one of those moments where you can't control everything, and it ain't ballet.
It is a crazy moment, and maybe we'll add to the legend of how crazy Vince is for a long, long time. This is an interesting moment in time, though, because it feels like a lot of people, and I think even Kurt Angle has recently said on his podcast that Vince had a decision to make of who he was going with. And I think Arn Anderson has sort of echoed this. Do you remember there being a debate internally? Is it Batista? Is it John Cena? Is it Randy Orton? Like, who is going to be the guy to be our next top guy, in the same vein of, Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin? Do you remember there being a discussion, and were there different camps? I'm team Randy, I'm team Batista, I'm team Cena. Do you remember that sort of?
Always have those kind of discussions. Always, because, contrary to popular belief, you're not always just looking for the guy. You're looking for who are the guys.
Yes.
And who is that next crop that's going to take us to the next level. Cena was in that discussion. Batista, Brock had been in that discussion at one point. There were a lot of guys that, Dusty was in love with Randy Orton. That's the only way to go. Randy Orton, third generation wrestler, man, youth, all this stuff. Batista, by God, he's got the look. Look at him. Cena, he's got the look, he's got the charisma, he's got everything, and the best attitude out of all of them. Dave, I think, wanted it. Dave was like, man, I'm in this to make money. I'm in this to be a star. It's how Batista looked at it. And Batista wanted to be the guy. I don't know if it's for the same reasons or not, but all of them were fighting hard, which I think is great, because as you try to tell talent from day one, going all the way back to the beginning of time, is what we do is a shoot. I mean, it being the top talent is a shoot, man. You got to fight to get there. And if you can't do that and you aren't willing to do that, then you're never going to make it. The top guys weren't people that just got it handed to them. At least not the good ones.
Can you expand on that? Can you give me an example?
Well, an example of a bad one is, I think, Ultimate Warrior, who wanted it for the wrong reasons and was given that opportunity, but didn't know what to do with it because the human being behind it wasn't into being the guy. He was into, I want the money, I want the notoriety, but I really don't care about anything else. A guy like, Cena, Austin, Rock, Hunter, Foley, those guys all wanted to be the guy, and they wanted everything that came with it, but they wanted to be the best. They really wanted to be the best at what they did, and were willing to sacrifice and do whatever it took to be the best. And I think people would always kind of look at Taker and go, man, how did Taker stay this top guy for all these years to this day? Because Taker, man, was Taker. It was a gimmick, but he lived the gimmick. He sacrificed.
He was committed.
Yes, and you have to be committed to be the guy.
Let's talk about it. We know that ultimately we're going to see the No Way Out show on February 20th, where John Cena has an opportunity to beat Kurt Angle to earn the #1 contendership for a chance at the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 21. And on March 17th, 2005, before we get to that year's WrestleMania, the time is now. John Cena's first single from his album, You Can't See Me, is released. And the song and album feel like, I guess, a natural extension of his character that we've seen, this Doctor of Thugonomics and things like that. I mean, you guys are trying some interesting stuff here with John. We're going to put him in a movie. We're going to put an album out. And you guys haven't really done something like this since the 80s. I mean, I know there was, the theme CDs that you would push out, but like the wrestling album and Pile Driver, those were from like the mid 80s. This feels like we're trying lots of things with John Cena we haven't tried with anybody in a long, long time. What can you tell us about producing this album and the drivers for it? Is this just, hey, this is a revenue opportunity, or we think it's a natural extension of the character? Talk to me.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we had done things. We did Slam Jam, and we did WrestleMania, the album, in which we had guys singing songs. But they were, for example, Pile Driver was produced by WWE. Pile Driver 2, same thing. That was self-produced. Slam Jam and the WrestleMania album, that was cooperatives where we co-produced with other people. I think Slam Jam was the one we worked with Simon Cowell on. And we had done those projects. We would always do those projects. John was unique in that John was, without a doubt, I think one of the most talented people I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And the fact that he could sit there and freestyle rap, that's what kids call it today, and hold his own with anybody and everybody, and wasn't scared of shit. So John was not ever afraid of failure. John was afraid of not having the opportunity to fail. He's like, man, just give me the opportunity, man. Just If I sink, I sink. But he always found a way to swim. And with this was something John wanted to do. John produced it. John wrote all the stuff with his partner and his brother, and they put all this shit together. So it was him that did it, and we backed it and thought this is a hell of an idea. Yeah, let's work with him and see what we can do. It was also the beginning of is it Apple Music? Is that when this started? When we had, what were those things? Not the iPod. Come on.
Yeah, iPods were a thing. You saw MP3 players and all that.
Yeah, it was an iPod.
I don't think that came out. Yeah, that was out then. Yeah, I'm thinking of the iPhone, which came out in 07.
Right. The iPod was first, and it was the first time that you could, okay, I didn't have to go to Texas Tapes and Records to go get the album. It was, I could download it. Ooh, that was a big deal. I could have it in this little thing, and that the game was changing. So you didn't have the same expenses that were associated with an album because the business had changed to downloadable content, and distribution was completely different than it ever had been in the past. But it was produced by John, written by John, and performed by John.
It's just really cool to see you guys are trying new things and stepping out of your traditional comfort zone. First with John in the Marine, now with this movie. I think the album is credited to both John and someone called The Trademark, which is Mark Joseph Predka, I believe, which I think is Cena's cousin. So it's cool that he's bringing up his fam with him as well. But you bring in some real experts. I think Daryl Pittman, who's worked with Funkmaster Flex, and Jamal Greenidge, who worked with Jay-Z and Busta Rhymes, they're all working on the project as well. Is there anybody on the traditional WWE team that we would know who would be involved in this? Is Jim Johnston involved at all,
No.
or anything like that?
No, Jim was good at what Jim did.
Right.
Jim was good at doing Bam Bam Bigelow entrances.
Yeah.
But Jim had a sound, and this sure as hell was not Jim's sound.
Right.
Didn't know what to do with it. Yeah, I assume Jim was still here during this time, but Jim had nothing to do with it. I just don't think that that this was something that Jim would have been
a good fit for.
Just not his deal, man. Not what he did.
Allmusic.com says that the recording sessions took place at Lobo Recording Studio in Deer Park, New York, and Basecamp Studios in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm only bringing this up because I think when most people think about an album being produced, I mean, that's usually what that artist does full time. This is one of many things that John Cena is doing. So we're going to have to be a little fluid, and hey, he'll be working shows here and he's got an off day there. And helping release this project is Columbia Records in partnership with WWE Music Group. We've heard about, the movie studios. We just talked about that a little bit earlier. What can you tell us about WWE Music Group?
Just the production end of music production end of the company. We had a movie production group. We had a music production group, television production group, film. It's just the music end of the company. We do many different things. You have a merchandising group. You have every aspect of the business has its own department, its own little silo.
I find it interesting that Vince always wants to maintain whatever sort of control over that sort of thing he can. Like, I think the production company that put out No Holds Barred was like Shane Distribution, and the music once upon a time was Stephanie something or other, right?
Yeah, it was Shane Productions and Stephanie Music.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, but it's just, look, if you create something, you want to own it and protect it. That's business. That's good business. That's why, it's still in business today. is by doing that. And I think that people look at it and go, oh, well, that's not fair because we trademarked his idea. Now I can't steal it. No, it's just business, and good business.
Now, without a little bit of controversy here, The Time Is Now had a sample of Annie Up by the hip hop duo MOP, and they're actually going to sue for $150,000 in damages. Of course, Annie Up even had a sample of a song from 1968, though. The lawsuit, of course, is eventually dismissed for undisclosed reasons, but that music business, man, this is an interesting foray for WWE, no?
Yeah, I mean, again, no different than any other business, and the music business is very protective of their rights.
Yes,
rightfully so. But there are very few original ideas out there. But I don't think that, it was something that they claimed, and I think that's always going to happen, especially with something like music that is so subjective. You hear a beat, you hear a song, and it brings other beats and songs to your head. And from that, you start building and you start coming up with things. It may sound similar to something very popular that you don't even realize that you're doing the same thing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because in the subconscious, you're not going, I'm going to go copy this song. No, you're, walk this way, talk this way, walk this way, and you start to think, eat this fish, bite my ass. I'm just thinking of these things, and then it comes out in the same style, but I'm not going out to steal Aerosmith stuff. It's just that I'm used to listening to it. I'm used to, hearing this shit, and I found myself, the other day with an AC/DC song, rock and roll ain't noise pollution, and and there's so many. If you listen to the song, there are lessons in life. I saw you laying on. I look inside. I said, "You want a little rhythm and love?" You said, "No, I want to rock and roll instead." Rock and roll, and it's like I find myself speaking in that cadence.
Yes.
I took a look inside your bedroom door. You look so good lying on your bed. When I asked you if you want a little rhythm and love, you said, no, I want to rock and roll instead. Bring it down, because rock and roll ain't noise pollution. Rock and roll will never die. Rock and roll ain't no pollution. Rock and roll, well, it's just rock and roll. And when I get on these sermons and meetings sometimes, I go into that shit. Not, I took a look inside your bedroom door. No, it's like, hey, I was walking by your open door the other day, and I took a look inside. I saw those plans lying on the table. I asked you if you wanted to incorporate that to merch. You said, no, it's just for TV. And I said, no. Anyway, but
the Prime has kicked in, boys and girls. Prime really works. Give it a shot. I think you'll be glad you did.
But again, the point is I'm not consciously stealing. Just it's ingrained in my head. Take a letter, Maria. Address it to my wife. Say I won't be coming home.
You know what you need right now, Bruce? You know what you need?
I do.
Cannonballs! This summer, it's not about the size of those cannonballs. It's about making a splash with our friends at Manscaped. Prepare for barbecue season by making sure your grill master has the hottest dogs the summer's ever seen. When you're at the cookout, let the meat speak for itself with Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. It's time to get ready and not sweaty by going to manscaped.com, using the promo code STW for 20% off plus free shipping. By the way, this Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped has everything to make sure that you're going to guarantee the most mouth-watering treats at the party. It all starts with Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a ceramic blade to reduce those grooming accidents. We don't want you to get any color on your bag meat. So they've got advanced skin-safe technology. And this mower has a 7,000 RPM motor. Check that out. And even a 4,000K LED spotlight. Bruce, have you ever seen your sack meat with a 4,000K LED spotlight? I recommend it. It's also got a travel lock, so it won't be vibrating in your bag when you don't want it to be. How about it's waterproof too? So I guess this means you could shave your pubes on the beach, but you might get arrested. You could probably do it in the pool, hell, but that could clog up the skimmer. Maybe just stick to the razor in the shower. That's what I do. I also want to recommend the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. It's also in this package. It'll make sure you don't have stinky nuts. Everybody has seen that viral video of that kid in the back seat. My balls and butthole are sweaty. Well, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant can help you. So can the Crop Mops. They're individually wrapped moist towelettes for, as Tony Schiavone says, your balls and butthole. Also a part of this package, some brand new boxers and a Shed travel bag. Also want to promote their Shears 2.0, a luxury nail grooming kit. You got everything you need. Steel nail cutters, tweezers, grooming scissors. It's all right there as a part of this Performance Package 4.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Be sure to use the code STW. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling hot this summer. And man, things are hot as we march towards WrestleMania here. Cena is working with JBL and members of JBL's cabinet. He's going to team up with the Big Show to beat JBL and Orlando Jordan. And a week later, Cena actually drops the U.S. title to Orlando Jordan, which now allows him to really focus on the world title. And we know that that's the story. We're getting towards JBL and John Cena for the world title. And what better way to build it up than some promos for WrestleMania? And WrestleMania 21 had some fantastic ones, man. We went Hollywood. And one of my favorite vignettes that people still talk about to this day is the A Few Good Men remake with John Cena portraying the Tom Cruise character and JBL portraying Jack Nicholson's character. These are really, really well done. Do you recall how this idea came to be? Did you help shoot this? What was the process to make these?
You're in Hollywood, man. Do Hollywood better than Hollywood. So WWE's coming to take over Hollywood and did it in a way to take every, iconic film scene that we could think of and put our superstars in them, poke a little fun at it and have some fun with it to let Hollywood know that we're going to do more than wrestle, man. We're going to take over in everything you do, by golly. And I thought they were incredibly well done. And our folks at the TV studio did it. And I thought they were great. Absolutely, absolutely magnificent.
It really was.
Into those.
Did you help with any piece of the production, or
all I did was take a look at scripts and just help with ideas? I didn't produce any of those.
Really good stuff. We would see Pulp Fiction with Eddie Guerrero and Booker T, Taxi Driver with Heidenreich, Batista, Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, and others.
You talking to me?
Isn't that great? The Gladiator was Stone Cold, Braveheart with Triple H. Really, really fun stuff. But finally, we get to WrestleMania. It's April 3rd, and John Cena becomes the man. He wins his first WWE heavyweight title in 11 minutes and 18 seconds. He beats JBL for that honor. And Meltzer would say, last week I said WrestleMania should be good. I was wrong. It was very good. But he wasn't a fan of the match here itself. Of course, you're not doing the match for Dave Meltzer. You're doing it for the fans in the crowd. And more importantly, man, this is a guy who now at this point is a 16-time world champion. This is his first one. Do you remember Cena's reaction afterwards? Like, as a little kid, he used to make belts out of cardboard and dream of being the WWE champion. And we know what a huge wrestling fan his dad is and how happy his dad was to know that his son was wrestling in WWE. But that's one thing. It's another thing to win the world title at WrestleMania. How excited was John and his family here?
Ecstatic. And because it was another chapter, in that dream, it was what, when he was a kid, was probably the ultimate dream, and it all would end there. It was, a dream was just to get there. Now, once you're there, it's like, now what? And I think John had already looked at not now what, but what's next? Let's go, motherfucker. John wanted to be the guy. John wanted to be the one that the company depended on. John wanted to be that guy that got the call. Said, John, I know it's 4:00 in the morning, and I know that you're in Yakima, Washington, but I need you in Thibodaux, Louisiana in about 6 hours. John would be there. John wouldn't ask how, why, or anything else. John would be in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and doing whatever he needed to do. That's how he made it. He didn't go, oh man, I've got plans, I wanted to go do this, or I wanted to go do that. He was like, I'm there. John didn't stub his toe and go, oh man, the doctor told me I needed to put ice on it every 6 hours, and if I'm on a plane, I'll have to do it on the plane. No, John just did it and went and did what he needed to do. And that's what a lot of people, forget when you're the guy and you're the one that everyone is counting on. It's not just getting there and being the guy. It's what you do once you are the guy.
Right.
And the great ones, the Stone Colds, the Rocks, the Foleys, the Hogans, the Savages, that did every single thing without question. And I know that's like, well, gosh, Bruce, you got to have a personal life. You got to have this, you got to have that. Okay. And that's cool. If that's what you want, then you don't want to be the guy. If that's what you're looking for, you aren't really willing to make the sacrifice to be the guy.
Right.
That's okay. We'll look for somebody else.
The fans maybe were looking for somebody else that night. This match is fans are not really with John yet. Or when I say John, I mean Cena. There's even a JBL chant during the match. When Cena finally makes the big comeback, there's noticeable boos. And John hits the FU and gets the pin. There's no near falls. There's no last second kickouts. I mean, JBL put him over clean, but Meltzer would say that Cena was not over with this crowd. Why do you think that is? Because I do think we would see that John Cena is going to become one of the biggest stars in WWE history. And years later, we would have sort of a split audience where there's a subset of fans that love him and another subset of fans that do not like him at all. I'm curious, when did you first start to notice that? Because this, even though it is a big moment for John professionally, it doesn't feel like the fanfare is maybe where we would expect it, given all the stuff that he's done. Do you think the time away to make the movie hurts some momentum, or is this just one of those crowds, man?
No, I think that it's any time that someone reaches that success. Okay, you've done it now. What have you done for me lately? And the audience will turn and they will resent you. But here's the thing. They made noise. They cared. So I really didn't care whether they were cheering, whether they were booing him out of the building. They had an emotional reaction to John. They cared about John. Love him or hate him. They cared. And that is the single most important thing that you want from an audience, is you want them to care and be passionate. And they were. So love him or hate him, he was polarizing. Man, they love to love him and they love to hate him. Give me that character any day of the week.
JBL is going to steal the title away from Cena and claim he's still the champion, and the cabinet continues to feud with Cena. Along the way, we even have some interesting shows like May 17th at a house show in Redding, California. Cena would beat JBL and Orlando Jordan in a handicap match. What's interesting about that, though, is that Roddy Piper is the special guest referee. Of course, we're all building towards Judgment Day, May 22nd, and Cena beats JBL in a brutal and bloody I Quit match from Minneapolis. Is that another one of those earn your stripes kid type things? I mean, you sort of talked about, hey, let's see what credibility he has with the Booker T feud. Is this another step in that direction? Like, I think a lot of people gained a lot of respect for Randy Orton after he had that hardcore match with Mick Foley, because people just didn't expect it. I don't know that anybody expected John Cena to be in such a bloody, old school, brutal battle like this with JBL either.
I think they did. I just think that, you needed to see it, and it was something different for John. It was a departure of what he normally did. So it was another notch in that belt. I can go be entertaining, I can do all this up, but I can also fight and I can hang. So
hang he did, man. Go out of your way to
love,
see it.
hate, just respect,
It's a brutal match. And JBL, man, he's Mr. Judgment Day. He did it a year prior with Eddie Guerrero, another bloodbath here with Cena. And once the feud wraps up, I guess it's time for a change, because on June 6th on Raw, John Cena is drafted to Raw. So we're doing the draft after WrestleMania. Here we're doing it in June. And even though he's sort of been the face over on SmackDown, he's going to get drafted to Raw. Talk me through this this change of pace here. Like, was it time for a new set of opponents? Did we think it was time to make him the top guy? Because in that era, Raw, at least from a fan perspective, was the A show. SmackDown was the B show. This feels like a major vote of confidence to move Cena to Raw.
It was, but it's a change of scenery, change of pace, just shake things up. And John had not been that face on Raw, and here was his opportunity. He had done it on SmackDown, did great. Time to do it on Raw. Let's go.
Let's talk about the world title. That's another piece of business that's really going to be a major revenue driver for the company. Of course, when Cena wins the world title at WrestleMania, it's still the old undisputed look. Now we're going to do the same thing we did to the U.S. title, except for the world title. This, at the time, felt like a big controversy online. There were a lot of traditional hardcore fans who absolutely hated the look of this title. They said it felt more like a toy and less like a prestigious championship. But I can at least make my business brain understand it. Hey, man, I bet a lot of kids want a belt like that. This had to be a major revenue driver for the company, no?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I mean, as a wrestling fan, you probably didn't like the look either, right? But you get the business piece.
I even go back to the rattlesnake belt. Okay, great for Steve, but the individualized championships, I just wasn't crazy about.
Right.
Because the Stanley Cup doesn't become a Red Wing Cup once they win it. It's still the Stanley Cup. The WWE Championship, I think, should always just be the WWE Championship. The World Championship should be the World Championship. Not a big fan of it in the beginning. Huge fan of it once you saw merchandise numbers and realized that, holy cow, everybody had to have it because it was different.
Right.
And so, personal preference aside, business hat on, you go, what else can we make spin? They like to watch it go round and around. If we could only do that with tires, wheels on the bus go round, and maybe they could spin in the little hubcap things in the middle, It was, hey man, it was marketing genius.
No doubt.
And it was something that caught on, and all the people, the haters, had to have it because it was different. They thought, oh well, this is a fad. This will only be so long, but I got to get one because it'll be a collector's item. It hung around, man.
Yeah, it did. It hung around and made a boatload of cash, and so would ECW. 2005 is when we do One Night Stand, and this is born out of the success of that rise and fall of ECW DVD. We've covered that in the archives. Highly recommend you check it out. But on the way here, Bischoff vows to make John Cena's life a living hell and deputizes Chris Jericho to wrestle Cena on his behalf. That culminates in a match won by Cena at SummerSlam. And the next night on Raw, Cena's going to beat Jericho in a loser leaves town match. What do you remember about Jericho going away and learning a new hold here?
He lost, Conrad.
Was he trying to
there's a special stipulation
in
his contract says if he loses, he leaves town. So he had to leave town. He lost. That's all there is to it.
Got it.
You got to read the stipulations in the contracts there.
We got to talk about the summer of 2005 because this does feel like a turning point. He's the huge babyface champ. He's the face of Monday Night Raw. But man, these boos start to really build some momentum. And I'm curious, when that happens, what does Vince pay attention to, and what is he a little hard of hearing about? Like before you were back, I know we don't talk about modern stuff, but before you were back, fans were not really into Roman Reigns, and boy, they are loving them some Roman Reigns today. So in the end, Vince was right. But I'm curious, did he have that same vote of confidence, do you think, at the time in John, like pay them no mind, whether they're cheering or they're booing, we're getting a reaction, and that's what we're looking for? Is that the approach?
Well, no, the approach is you listen to everything.
Okay.
Go back and listen. Listen to the reaction John got on his entrances. Listen to the pop John got when he won a match. A little higher pitched, obviously much younger and a little, not as much bass in it. And it definitely outweighed the boos. If you really want to be honest, if you want to go on and go, no, they were booing him, and that's all you want to hear, great, go hear that. But you got to listen, and you also have to look at it and go, we're selling out of John Cena merchandise before intermission. There's young adults, young males, that thought it was cool to boo him.
Right.
But there were more parents and kids that liked his message, liked him, and bought his merch.
Right.
And believed that he believed. So the audience member believed in their guy, that being John Cena, because John Cena believed in John Cena. My son, Kane, when the first Rock Cena match, I was with TNA. And Kane says to me, he says, he goes, this is so cool that WWE got Dwayne Johnson. Isn't that cool? Because he
missed it.
He wasn't there. He wasn't around for The Rock.
Right.
And at that time, Rock was Dwayne Johnson. And so to Kane, WWE got Dwayne Johnson to do The Rock.
Right.
Now, it wasn't The Rock returning to him. And in listening to their promos, those guys were so great, and it was all so real. And just, you felt the emotion. But Kane said, and I said, well, who do you want to win? He goes, oh, Cena. He goes, Cena's real. He says, I believe what John says when he says it, because he's the real deal. Now, this is coming from
A fan.
mouth of babes, Okay, this is just, he was 11 years old, 12 years old, whatever it was at the time.
Right, right.
And I'm on the road, and I might have had a couple of adult beverages, and I called John, left him a message, and he called me right back. He was deadheading to the airport. He was out on the West Coast somewhere. And I said, wow, I didn't think you'd call back. He says, well, you called me. I said, yeah, I just wanted to leave you that message. He goes, how you doing? We talk a little bit. And I told him that story about Kane. And he goes, wow, thank you. He goes, because it's true. And I said, yeah, I do. And he says, went through the I love yous and all that good stuff. But, here John was doing everything he was doing at that time on the road to WrestleMania, doing all this stuff in a car, not with a driver. He's driving himself to the airport to make a red eye to get back to the East Coast because he had something to do first thing in the morning on the East Coast. But took that 10 minutes to return my phone call because I said, hey, I just want to share a story with you, man. I hope you're doing well. Just, well, you called me, so I called you back. That's who John Cena is the human being. So the audience that was booing John Cena, they booed him because they thought it was cool. It's different. It's against the grain. And the audience, they cared. Booing him, they cared. I'm going to boo him. I'm going to let people know I don't like John Cena. Hey, great. Right. Thank you. And thanks for coming out and enjoying the show tonight. Appreciate that. The other side of it, the parents and the kids that believed in John Cena because they finally had somebody that was true to his word, was entertaining, could be edgy, but he was real. And there was that, you can have guys that are real, but not feel that they're real. It's like it's too good to be true. John's just John. And that's why I think it worked.
Well, one of the things that works is him debuting a new finisher. He's going to get himself into a feud with Kurt Angle, thanks to a little help from Eric Bischoff here in late 2005. And that's when he starts using the STFU. Of course, that's his new submission move. What do you think of the STFU for John Cena? I mean, a babyface with a submission finish. It feels like more and more people were trying to come up with their own version of a Stone Cold Stunner or some sort of big impact move. A babyface with a submission finish makes me think about the Bret Hart days. What do you think of a submission finish for a babyface John Cena here?
Well, that was okay. There's variety. John could beat you with the FU. He could beat you with the STFU. I never looked at John as that guy, the technical wrestler that I want to see in a technical wrestling match. But it was another dimension. It was growth. It wasn't just doing the 3 punches, big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And that was important to John to evolve and to change as he went on.
Let's talk about the New Year's resolution or revolution. What a show this was. January 8th, 2006. It's an elimination chamber match and John Cena retains. But what everybody remembers is after the match, and what a brutal match it was. You see all the combatants there. You got Carlito, you got Kane, you got Shawn Michaels, you got Kurt Angle. I mean, this is a who's who in this match. Somehow Cena survives. And then wouldn't you know it, Edge is back and he's cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase he won at last year's WrestleMania. It takes Edge 2 spears, 1 minute and 41 seconds, and Edge is the new world champion. What a big surprise. What a big moment. This is the era where it's really hard to have a surprise or a secret or anything like that. The internet has become a much bigger piece of the wrestling business. People were shocked. I remember I had folks over at my house. People lost their mind. Oh my God, Edge is back and he just won the world title. He beat John Cena. The inaugural Money in the Bank ladder match. and the cash in, this became the first time we saw something like this, and it paved the way for so many fun and exciting opportunities in the future. You were there. What do you remember about this moment?
Oh, it was explosive because, again, people had forgotten about it.
Yes.
It wasn't something that was in their face every week. And when it happened, there was that moment of, what just happened?
Right.
Wait. What? And he beat him? But there was no match. That wasn't advertised. You didn't tell me that was going to happen. The surprise, the shock of it was the beauty. And it was the first one. So it was just cool to do. And I thought it accomplished everything we wanted it to accomplish.
It definitely did. What a special moment. And of course, that happens January 8th. 3 weeks later, Cena wins the belt back at the Royal Rumble. In hindsight, would you do that over again? I mean, was it all about the cash in and just that moment? I mean, it does feel like a pretty brief run here for Edge. It could have been a bigger part of a longer story. I mean, they are having lots of fun matches on the house shows, regular matches, steel cage matches, even occasionally street fights. Maybe Mick Foley pop in as a special guest referee. But that Edge Cena thing, man, I could have seen that being a longer story.
I think it was a longer story. It is something we came back to time and time again.
I guess what I'm trying to drive at is, we've talked about historically, you even mentioned this in our early episodes when we talked about the 80s, that the WWF was a babyface territory. Whereas the NWA, we had a heel champion, and he would be the traveling champion and go beat everybody's top babyface in their territory, just barely. But in the WWF, man, we really built up Bruno, and we really built up Hulk Hogan, and now we had to have a heel factory for them. Do you think perhaps the fans would have gotten behind Cena a little more if he had been chasing a heel champion more? Or was it just, hey, we're a babyface territory, Conrad. It is what it is.
No, it was the right thing to do. It was, again, you're looking at merchandise sales. You're looking at reactions. You're looking at who's selling tickets. John sold tickets. John sold merchandise. So that was the guy. When you look at all your metrics, when you look at the business side of it, and you look at who's doing what, how everything is doing, well, what's the difference? What's driving this? Who's moving the needle? John moved the needle. John was, I hate this term, John was a game changer in that regard. But there's proof behind that. That's not just somebody saying, hey, he was a game changer. The reason he was a game changer was because of what he did and because of how he affected business in a positive way. And that was why.
On TV, even though he's having a hell of a run on the house shows with Edge, on TV, Cena is going to start a feud with Triple H. Triple H wins the Royal Rumble. He's going to now be the challenger for Cena at WrestleMania 22. And we get the entire extended Triple H family involved. We see Cena team with Kane and Big Show to defeat Triple H, Carlito, and Chris Masters. And then Cena and Hunter are forced to be a tag team in a match against Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, and Rey Mysterio on a special Saturday night's main event on March 18th. 2 nights later on Raw, we see Cena team up with Shawn Michaels to take on Triple H and his brother-in-law, Shane McMahon. And a week later, Cena finds himself with a victory over Vince McMahon. I don't think enough people even talk about that, but just like we did with Austin once before, we're going to get him in there with Vince McMahon. He picks up the win by DQ here. And then we know we're all doing this to build towards Triple H and John Cena at WrestleMania at the Rosemont Horizon. Meltzer would say Hunter versus Cena wasn't clicking. And the only intriguing thing about it was how the folks would respond to Cena. Cena got a video package, I guess, comparing him to a Depression era bootlegger. And so he comes out in a vintage car flanked by Al Capone and his men, one of whom, believe it or not, was CM Punk. What do you think of this entrance, this presentation for John Cena at WrestleMania?
Thought it was cool as shit. You know, it was Chicago based. It was, you know, Al Capone. It was the, you know, to a lot of people in Chicago, Al Capone was a hero. He was only a heel to the feds. you
Right.
know. But to the general population, a lot of the general population looked at Capone as a hero figure. And this was just simply territorial, where we're in Chicago. Let's do a Chicago themed entrance, man. Let's make this cool. And I thought it was a damn cool entrance.
It was a damn good match too. Hunter gets some boos early, but when he starts beating the crap out of John Cena, the place goes bananas for him. And eventually, boy, they really get him going. There's dueling chants. Let's go Cena, F you Cena. Eventually the sledgehammer comes out. Somehow Cena kicks out. Eventually Hunter goes for the pedigree. Cena hits the FU and Hunter kicks out. And when he does, the place goes ballistic. Cena misses a high cross off the top. Hunter goes for another pedigree, but Cena slips out, rolls through, and puts on the STFU. They tease doing a pass out finish, but eventually Hunter taps. Meltzer gives it 3 3/4 stars. I mean, I could see how if you were a hardcore fan at the time, you might think, oh man, they're pushing him down our throats. I get that sort of thinking, but this reaction, hey, they're not with him. They're with him. Oh man, they're just into the match. They fall in love with the story. Maybe the year before with JBL was flat. He had a hell of a match with Triple H here, though.
He had a hell of a match with JBL the year before too. I just think that it was different. And going into Chicago with Triple H, excellent match. And you know, they had the people in the palm of their hands. And again, you know, cool to boo Cena in certain spots where you think, and I do think there was that sentiment that people thought we were shoving John Cena down their throats, but they respected John. Through the boos, through all that, man, they still popped on the entrance and they popped on the finishes. They were there for him. They cared about him. They gave a shit about his matches and what he was in. And that's the secret. That's what a lot of people, so many people just don't understand. Well, I'm going to do this, you know, big move to get a ooh and an ah from the crowd. Okay. Then what? To have them emotionally involved in what you do is the goal. For them to care about everything you do. Win, lose, draw. Doesn't matter. They still care about you in the end. They either cared that you got your ass kicked and they liked it and you deserved it, or they cared because you came out on top and you fought adversity and you won. Versus, it's just a match. There's no reason for this match. There's people going out and doing moves. It doesn't mean anything. John made you feel.
Right.
John still makes you feel. And that's the secret. He made people feel by being genuine and being real in what he did.
Well, I'll tell you what, he was real at ECW One Night Stand. 2006, the second version of One Night Stand. It's one of the most fun spectacles you could see with John Cena. This crowd is all over him to the point where he takes his shirt off, throws it to the crowd. They throw it back. Just hilarious stuff. F you, Cena. You still suck. A rowdy crowd, but a really fun environment for this match. What'd you think of that reaction and how Cena handled it? This was really fun to watch.
Again, that's watching a pro in action. That's watching John Cena take the audience and taking them on a ride. And it was the ride that the audience, that particular audience that night, wanted to go on. So John said, let's go for a ride, folks. And took them on a ride that none of them will ever forget. And they never in a million years thought we would do what we did in
with Rob Van Dam, yeah.
Putting the championship on Rob Van Dam. Never. It was against everything we would do. Exactly why we did it.
Cena, as always, just a pro's pro for all that.
All the way through. I don't think Cena would have had it any other way. That may have been a fight. If you'd gone to John and say, "Hey, John, you're going to go out, you're going to beat Van Dam," I think that John would have fought that adamantly.
Something he wasn't fighting is paying it forward. He remembers how instrumental OVW was to getting him up and going. So he's actually going to go back to Louisville, Kentucky to wrestle at Six Flags on June 30th. And he's going to wrestle Aaron Stevens, who we know went on to become Damian Sandow. This is obviously a big deal for Danny Davis and Jim Cornette and folks like that, but it probably meant a lot to John to go back to his roots and show appreciation for the folks who helped, quote unquote, make him, right?
Yeah, because that's the person John is. And John's, it's interesting. Make-A-Wish. John hated doing a Make-A-Wish if there was press of any kind involved, even our own people. John would always insist on their wish wasn't to be surrounded by cameras and press. Their wish was to meet me, and they're going to get an experience with me, a one-on-one experience with me. And I'm not doing it for publicity. I'm not doing it to have people say what a great guy. I'm doing it because a dying child asked to meet me. That's John Cena. Right. The battle to get John to allow us and allow Make-A-Wish to acknowledge him for everything he had done was a bit of a battle. He's like, why do you want to recognize me for something that I do because it's the right thing to do? That's not work to him. That's right. Just his love, his appreciation that someone appreciated him that much. And it's just like that was his give back to, he truly loves those kids and loves doing that. So that's the real John. And that's the guy that, when people point to Make-A-Wish, oh yeah, they're doing that publicity, man, the fight to even be able to say it was a fight. Sounds like it's not about publicity, man. It's about one thing. And it's about that kid, that day, that moment. That's their moment. That's not my moment. It's not your moment. That's theirs. And, eventually, got to the point where parents, Make-A-Wish, and everybody just bragged on it so much that, okay, yeah, we made it public and so on and so forth. But you never heard about all the Make-A-Wishes that he did.
Right.
It's a big deal when somebody from Hollywood goes and, makes a wish come true. As many as John's done, as many times as John has looked at his schedule and say, hey, I've got 12 hours. I could make a flight, 4 hours someplace to go meet a child, spend a few hours with them, and then fly back 4 hours and do what I needed to do. Instead of saying, I'm going to sleep in, I'm going to train, I'm going to go eat at this restaurant or whatever. It's like, no, I'll make that work.
Yeah.
You don't hear about that stuff. And again, that's the thing that makes John Cena the human being, the great human being he is, that then makes him the huge megastar that he has become.
I'm glad we're getting to give him his flowers here today. He's got his work cut out for him in the second half here, 2006. He's going to defeat Sabu in a lumberjack match at Vengeance 06. That leads to a triple threat match where his ECW feud and his house show feud come together. on the July 3rd episode of Raw, Edge is going to defeat Cena and the champion RVD for the WWE title. And of course, we know why that is. Rob Van Dam had a little legal circumstance. And from here, Cena and Edge becomes a really memorable feud. And I'm curious, do you think that would have always been the case? Or once the Rob Van Dam stuff happens, we pivot and it was just the natural next step?
It was a pivot because we really wanted to see if Rob had legs. And unfortunately, we'll never really know. But, you had Edge sitting right there. And it was an easy pivot. Logical.
Well, it's logical that Cena is now chasing Edge's title for the next 2 months. He'll finally win it at a TLC match in Unforgiven. That's September 2017. September 17th of 2006 here in Toronto. And they keep working together through a variety of gimmick matches, if you will. Street fights, no holds barred matches. Cena has one hand tied behind his back. Easy for me to say. Steel cage matches, tag matches with different partners. When did you know, man, Cena and Edge, this is a classic rivalry. I mean,
I think a lot of it had to do with Edge and Edge's dedication to it as well. Edge kind of became that Joker character and became unhinged. Didn't, like wash his hair for 2 weeks type shit, and just submerged himself into this obsession with John Cena. And so much of that also has to be applauded to Edge because of the commitment that Edge made to the program. And they were the same yet opposite. So that's what really made that work. And they both had the dedication and the willingness to sacrifice to make that work and do whatever needed to be done.
When you think about all-time John Cena classic rivalries, is Edge number one for you? Is it Kurt Angle? Is it CM Punk? Is it Shawn Michaels? Is it The Rock?
Well, I think if you look overall, through his whole career, I think people recent memory would probably say The Rock. For me, I look at the build, and without John Layfield to take John on that ride and take all of those steps with John, I don't know, it would have been the same. So I credit Layfield in that rivalry the most because that's what made John a bona fide superstar. And then John took it from there. And I think John then was able to make his opponents bona fide superstars, those that were worthy. So for me, the rivalry with John is the one I remember most because it was the most challenging. It was do or die.
Right.
And that's what I remember. And I think most people in later years will say, oh, The Rock and Cena, because that was such a great, real, rivalry that everybody could feel and got into.
I think John has had so many great opponents, but when I think of those big rivalries, at least from my perspective, I think of Randy Orton and Edge as sort of 1A, 1B for me.
Randy Orton, probably number one, though.
Yeah. And then, of course, the feud he had with The Rock at WrestleMania. That's a story for another day. We're going to go ahead and start to wind down our episode on John Cena here. We've covered now, John, through the end of 2006. We know you were around through almost the end of 2008. So we still got 07 and 08 on deck at some point in the future. By the way, at some point in the future, you probably want to refinance. And I want to recommend SaveWithConrad.com for that. We can help you do that. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. But we are routinely helping some of our listeners who have credit card debt. Go ahead and get rid of that debt once and for all. You see, most folks who carry credit card debt usually have an interest rate 18% or higher. I've even seen some as high as 33%. And people start to feel stuck. And they're stuck making that minimum payment. And they think, man, I don't really know what to do here. Here's what you do. You go to savewithconrad.com. We're going to get rid of all that debt, just like that, combine it into one low monthly payment, and get you a greater tax deduction. Let me explain. The interest you pay on your mortgage is tax deductible. The interest you pay to American Express or Discover or something like that, that's not tax deductible. So why not get a better rate? Why not get a greater tax deduction? And oh, by the way, skip your next 2 house payments. That's right. You won't have to make your August or your September payment. You're done until October 1st. And come October 1st, you're going to be saving a boatload of cash. It's routine that we save some of our Something to Wrestle With listeners $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. And I also want to mention that when you do business with SaveWithConrad.com, we have what's known as a 7-year guarantee, meaning if your needs change in the next 7 years, man, we'll refinance you again without charging you a whole new set of closing costs. The idea being, we want to be your mortgage advisor for life. We know that rates will improve, and when they do, man, why not refinance again without paying all those fees all over again? We can help you save cash now and have the peace of mind of knowing you're not wasting money later. But if you've got credit card debt hanging around at 18% or higher, you know you can save cash. Find out how much right now for free. Again, you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. We have an A+ rating with the BBB and more than 1,000 5-star reviews over at ConradReviews.com. Don't take my word for it. Go read our reviews and then hit us up at SaveWithConrad.com. Bruce, I appreciate the time today. I never know what to expect. I'm glad that Prime started kicking in. It was fun talking about John Cena, and I'm ready to do it again, man. When can we record again? Let's get you on record.
Okay, yeah, that helps.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, let's just give everybody the heads up. We usually try on Wednesday, and your meetings change. And then we try on Thursday, and your meetings change. And then on Friday, well, you got to fly and do national TV for Fox. And then on Saturday morning, on 3 hours of sleep, you're up and at 'em again today. But, you know, this time next week, you and I will both be in Waterloo, Iowa. Make plans to come hang out with Bruce and I. If you haven't already, our favorites, JBL and Mr. Briscoe, will be there, as well as a whole host of other Hall of Famers. Demolition, Ken Patera, Thunderbolt Patterson, Haku, Marty Jannetty, Colt Cabana. And did I mention J.J. Dillon? How about John Nord? How about Tommy Rich? How about Sin Bodie? Man, it's a who's who, including Baron Von Raschke and Bill DeMott. And somehow, some way, I'm getting the Gordon Soley Award. Tickets are on sale now. NWHOF.org. That's NWHOF.org. They've got meet and greets. They've got dinners. They've got live matches. They've got panel discussions, live podcasts. And it's all included at NWHOF.org. Bruce, we're going to be in Waterloo, Iowa next week. How are we going to tape if we're together on Saturday?
All right, I'm going for Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay. We'll try.
We are going to try.
I'm for it.
Look, Thursday and Friday is impossible. Saturday, I'll be on puddle jumpers to get to someplace to where I can get in a Volkswagen and get up to Waterloo. And hopefully you've made plans for me to have someplace to sleep for 2 hours before I jump back on a plane and get back to civilization and then leave to go back to Florida on Monday. So think about that. I'm doing Orlando on Friday night. I'll get back at whatever 3 o'clock in the morning on
Saturday
night,
morning,
if I'm lucky.
Yes.
And then fly out at 6 a.m. to Chicago, to Cedar Rapids, to the Volkswagen, to Waterloo, to back to Cedar Rapids, to
let me talk
6
about
a.m. to get back to then do Raw all day on Sunday, then to fly to Tampa on Monday to actually produce Raw. So, yeah.
Why are you coming home from Florida? Why don't you just fly to Waterloo from Florida?
You know that reason.
Oh man, I didn't really think about that crazy travel schedule. I don't know how you're going to sleep. You're going to be sleepy, stressed.
I will sleep on the plane to Tampa. I mean, on the way there, I sleep in the morning on the plane going to TV, which is the best sleep I get all week.
Sleeping on the plane on the way to shows.
Yeah.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, boys and girls. Don't sleep on Something to Wrestle. We're a little tardy this week, but don't you be tardy. We're going to be on time next week. You heard Bruce out of his own mouth say we're going to try for Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see you this Friday, just in time for another Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
I took a look inside your bedroom door. Oh, anyway, rock on.
Hey guys, need to call a quick timeout here. Wanted to tell your listeners what I've been telling my listeners over at OU didn't know for a while now about all the cool things happening over at adsfreeshows.com.
We recently celebrated the 25-year anniversary of the biggest Nitro of all time, when Goldberg faced Hollywood Hogan at the Georgia Dome. Eric, alongside the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan and the living legend Larry Zbyszko, joined Ad Free Shows members live to relive it.
Yeah, well, you can't fire me now, so I'll tell you the truth. I don't think anything can beat that. That was the ultimate. I mean, they broke the decibel record. The roof flew off the place. It was amazing. Totally amazing.
Speaking of the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan joins AdFreeShows.com, starting this July with a brand new mailbag series, Tuesday with the Taskmaster, answering your questions each and every week.
I have over 50 years of experience in the wrestling business, and I'm happy to be on this platform with Conrad. So send in your letters. You got a question, I can go back even past 50 years, and I'm a wrestling historian. So anything you want to know, we'll try to deliver.
That's just a small taste of what we got waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from, see for yourself why Ads Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adsfreeshows.com.